All this week I am talking with David Padilla, owner of Ink Cow Prints, and we're talking about branding, logos, and marketing your food truck. Today we're going to explain how marketing is not about you. Welcome to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. My name is Bill Moore. I am a food truck business coach, author of 5 food truck vending books, including Food Truck 101 and Food Truck 201. This podcast is all about helping you start and grow your food truck business. Today's podcast is sponsored by Table Needs. And if you're looking for a game changer for your food truck business, look no further than Table Needs. It is the ultimate package, a killer point of sale system, QR code menu ordering, KDS, and automated sales tax. Plus, they offer business services like marketing and bookkeeping. They're not only just another vendor, they're a business partner. Check them out at tableneeds.com or find them on Facebook.
So my name is David Padilla, and I have Ink Cow Prints. You can find us at inkcowprints.com. It is a print shop that specializes in assisting the marketing and branding of small businesses.
When you talk about small businesses, you do more than just food trucks then?
Yes. A lot of brick and mortar, food vending, retail vending, a lot of vending. I'm trying to think, mostly business to customer sort of businesses, right, that are typically owned by 1 to 2 people and have I would say maybe up to 25 staff or so is about where I am.
Definitely qualifies as small business to small business is what you do.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like the small business environment. I like being able to talk directly to the owners. I like being able to share ideas and try to integrate some more larger concept marketing practices to the small business environment. Because I'm in Austin, everything's very artsy here. Right. Branding is real important. And really, I think it makes business more fun to be in. I have this purple cow thing that I got going on, and it's just kind of fun to do. And it makes me happy to have my business, and then it makes me happy for someone to refer to it as Ink Cow. So it's kind of got its own personality that is not direct with me. And I like to try to help other businesses kind of provide that avatar for themselves as well.
Which that brings up a really good question. So if you're working with a food truck, for example, most cases, this is their very first introduction to small business. So they are, in many cases, completely clueless. How would you help somebody that needs to create that avatar, like you talked about, that brand? What would be some of the things you would do with them?
A lot of times I find that people have started something. They have an idea of what they intend to do. They have this dream, but it may be having gaps. The first thing I do is I ask them who their customers are, and I try to guess with whatever they have built up and who they are. Because I don't want to create a brand that's disingenuous. I don't want it to be different than the person. I want it to be this person, but specific to this business, this product, whatever they're doing here. So I would ask them who their favorite customers are. And usually that's a friend of theirs that comes to them because they're the only ones that sit through with them doing their hair for 2 hours. Right. They're the people that they make the food as spicy as they're used to. They make sure to get the good cumin. They make sure, they get the grass-fed butter. I want those things to be in the forefront. What makes you different? And what makes you different that makes you attractive to that customer specifically? Because ideally, you want to find 100 of those. 100 of those favorite people is what we're going for. We're not trying to collect everybody. We want the people that really like it, so they really like you, and you really like them. And then this makes it a real happy, helpful, enjoyable business to be in.
That's a great perspective, finding the people that are going to almost be like-minded to whatever the owner's vision is. Because you're right, you can't appeal to everybody. It's impossible. You certainly couldn't serve everybody, so why even try?
Exactly.
Okay.
I hear horror stories of people, that are angry. They'll have a customer that they'll talk about that didn't like their product. And, you get nervous because it is an extension of your business, it's an extension of you. But really, you want to avoid those people that don't just align with what you're doing. And so this branding act is a way to push those people away and to attract the more people that do align with you better.
And in food service, you're always going to have people that are sampling food. You're always looking for, that new and better flavor. You're right. There are some people that just are not going to get it. They're not going to, see the value or see the flavors that you see. And that's okay. But I like that point about we're going to kind of gently steer them away from our business and only attract the people that are going to enjoy our food and enjoy our service. So that's a very unique take. I like that. Give me an idea of, again, sticking with the brand new food truck owner, what would be the kind of the basic services you would want to provide them, and what would those services be? And then how much involvement do you need from the prospective owner as far as creating that brand? What I'm looking for
like
is
what?
some of the things that you would recommend that they do as a brand new business owner, as far as, do you need to help with the menu design? Do you need to help with business cards? Those kind of things.
Oh, like practical things.
Yeah, practical. There we go.
So I would start with, so once we have the customer identified, we want to attract them and we want to set expectations. So before we do any product, I like to go through this consultation thing where we really got to figure out what we're doing.
Right.
So at this point, I would probably say, well, like what colors and what color palette appeals to your customers? What kind of shapes and lines appeal to your customers? I may not say these things out loud, but as I describe your customer, or as you describe your customer, and as you tell me more about what you do and how you do it, I can try to turn this into some sort of like visual representation. So before we have any iconography, I'm trying to build a vibe. Mm-hmm. And that's something that anybody can do. That's, what kind of colors appeal, what kind of line, what kind of fonts, what kind of story do you really want to say with your visual representation? That's your colors, your fonts, and your logo. Logos are one of those things that has a lot of different meanings to a lot of different people. Mm-hmm. I do recommend starting at your visual representation, your logo and your visual brand, since that's kind of going to set the stage. So now that we know who your customer is, we need to make this thing to set expectations for your customer. Let's say in a food truck sense, we're doing churros. What are churros? So they're a sweet treat. They're not lunch. They're something that's enjoyable. They're a dessert. They're instant gratification. They're hot. They're sugary. They're kind of messy. They're fun. That's what they are.
Yes.
So, we're not going to do a barbecue truck for churros. We're not going to have the flames. We're not going to have the barbecue pit. We're not going to have the weird meat puns. We're doing something playful that's going to appeal to the type of people that like churros. That's going to be a lot of color. Maybe we'll integrate something that would set you apart. I do see there's one around here that I like. They have a cartoon churro and their whole truck is pink. And it's pink. Everything's pink and dark pink. That's it. It's dark pink, white churro. The brown is the only thing that is brown, and that sets that contrast. And then we have the text. It's real simple and to the point, but it does appeal to the proper audience. That's real helpful. One thing to throw out of here, one thing that I would like to suggest to people listening is to avoid images of yourself. I see that a lot on these food trucks.
Yeah,
it's like, yes, this is a representation of you and your business, and therefore an extension. It's not about you. It's about your customer.
Yep.
And when someone sees your truck, they need to see themselves enjoying your product. They don't need to see you. That's the big thing that we want to start way off, like I was saying before, where we want to figure out who your audience is and make this for your audience specifically. Your audience isn't you. Your audience is everybody but you. And then divide it.
That's a perfect thing that you talk about there. I personally do not like seeing caricatures as a logo. That's easy to do. Somebody can just take a photograph of you, email it to you, and then, I can run this through a computer and it'll turn it into a caricature. And then I can stick the body parts on it. And there you go. It's a logo. It takes like 2 seconds. Mm-hmm. That's not a logo. And I like what you said about we want the guest to see themselves eating the food, whatever the particular food is that food truck's selling. In marketing psychology, it's just as powerful for people to imagine themselves doing something as it is for them to actually be doing it. When you're talking about branding, they've got to see those images of the food. They got to see themselves, like you said, eating the food, because that's what matters. They don't need to see somebody cooking it up in a cartoon environment on a barrel smoker. They don't see themselves doing that. They want to eat the food. They don't want to cook it. So why are we showing them, spatulas and forks and knives and all that kind of stuff? They want to eat it. Let's let them know what the food's about. I swear I see probably, if I talk to 100 people in a week, probably 90 of them are leaning towards that visual image of themselves as a logo. I'm trying to gently steer them away from it. Because if you think about it, other than Colonel Sanders, what other food place has a real person as its, standard bearer?
Yeah. Well, there's the Quaker Oats guy.
Right.
I would say that those things, I think people go, oh, this is a brand. This is something that's been around for a long time. And they would like to do that for themselves. But even like Colonel Sanders is a good example. how would I put it? It's been like changed and boiled down to the point where it's not a person anymore. It's a mustache.
Yeah.
Like it's its own icon. It's barely person shaped. And to develop something like that does take time and effort. And they have 50 plus years, well over 50 years.
Oh yeah, way
of
over.
being able to develop that brand. And so I understand why they maintain it, but for anybody up and new coming that wants to make an icon for themselves, it's better to be more original than it is to be like someone else. Even if you're doing it wrong and you're more original, it will leave a lot bigger impression. And you don't have to be skilled. You can, I've done hundreds and hundreds of logos at this point, but you don't need to be skilled to do it. If you follow a certain procedure and you make sure that you get your contrast, your audience right, it's technically quality enough that it can be printed, then you're fine. And it can be changed later.
Tomorrow, David and I will be discussing creating an emotional link to your brand. Thank you so much for listening to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. If you're finding all the information helpful to your food truck business, please become a monthly supporter of the podcast. Just hit the support button or follow the link in the description. Every little bit does help keep us going. Join our Facebook group. It's called Food Truck Training. We have a whole bunch of awesome members at all different levels, from brand new beginners to decades-old veterans. They've all got your back when it comes to helping you with your food truck. And again, thank you for listening. Come back tomorrow because I got plenty more to say when it comes to helping you and your food truck business grow.